Because your upbringing was quite
Very tough.
regimented.
Very tough. No, really tough. He was loving and caring but oh my, no, it was really hard. We could do no wrong. There was no room for mistakes. 10 o'clock in the evening, the police called and said, you have to come in. We have read the report. This is very serious. You have to come in, otherwise we can get you. Approached me for weeks and weeks because I was so bruised and so she wouldn't recognize me. She was only 18 months, so she would even let me approach her or pick her up or anything. It was really tough. We've gone too much one way. We need to come back, not completely the other way, because I think that was wrong, but we kind of need to balance it a little bit. It's always about balance. And I suppose what I would say to them is, what do you want to achieve? What's your intention? My clients call me Mrs. Intention. Explore the world with fresh eyes every day. It's so, so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Audrey, you've achieved something that hasn't happened yet on the podcast. You've left us both speechless, which is
Doesn't happen very often.
It's never happened. Welcome to the Leading Boldly podcast. I'm Matt Clutterham.
I'm Jenny Jarvis.
Today we're joined by Audrey Daumain, a communications leader with over 20 years experience in the finance world. In 2020, Audrey faced an extraordinary challenge. She was falsely accused of killing her own mother. Her story is not just about surviving a crisis, but how to rebuild, reinvent, and return to work with confidence after such a personal attack. Plenty of leaders face scandals or setbacks, but how much support is really available? What's it like to go back to work, to regain normality, and to rebuild your professional and personal life when the world has been watching? Audrey has navigated all of this and turned her experiences into lessons on resilience, leadership, and authentic communication. In this episode, we're going to explore how she's redefined leadership, rebuilt trust, and helped others reinvent themselves. Whether you're leading a team, recovering from a setback, or looking for practical insights on resilience, today's conversation is going to be full of wisdom, courage, and inspiration. So let's dive straight in and hear from Audrey and get her to share her journey, her lessons, and her secrets to leading boldly, even in the toughest of circumstances. Audrey, welcome to the Leading Boldly podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here.
So we always start with childhood and what childhood was like. And I have been doing some reading up on your life. And I know I've been so excited about talking to you, Audrey, because I know that today's episode is going to be enlightening. And so many people are going to stop and wonder what they're worrying about in life. If you can do it, anybody can do it. So tell us about your childhood. It was really fascinating.
I was born, this is going to be a very open conversation. So I was born in funny circumstances back in the late 70s, so 77. And my father was in the military forces all his life. And then he retired from military, and then he was what we call civil, right? So he had a big career in building, and he fell in love with my mom, who was a secretary to one of his, business partners, and she was only 19 and he was 59. So 40 years difference. Today is still quite scandalous, but back then was even worse. And I suppose he wasn't divorced yet, and he left his wife and children for my mom, who was pregnant. They got married when she was pregnant, and then they stayed together 25 years. It was a very happy childhood in the sense that we never lacked anything. My parents were very caring. I grew up in a family where my father nor my mom were working, because mom stopped working when she got with him because he had the money, and I don't think he would have let her work, which has also built me to work twice as hard. But that's for later in the conversation. And then I had a little sister as well, and he has from his previous marriages, other children, and so on. So it was complicated. It was sometimes a little challenging at school because people would mock me and they would kind of, go, your granddad's coming, or is it your great granddad? So from a very early age, I was never, ever, even when I was so little, going to let anyone criticize the ones I loved or criticize my family or myself. So I've built resilience very young from starting to that point. We lived in France. I was born in the north and then moved to the south of France when I was 2. I had a little sister and they kept on going. And then we moved around quite a bit because they were not working and they would suddenly get up in the morning and my mum would go, oh, I've seen this house for sale over there. It's 4 hours drive. Shall we go and have a look at it? And then they would go, oh, we love the house. They would sell everything, like literally the furniture, the knife and forks. We would go with our suitcases and rebuy everything again. And I loved
Wow.
that because I was so excited all the time about meeting new people and starting back from scratch at 5, at 10, at 15. And then moved again when I was like in my early 20s. But that was in England then. My little sister suffered from that tremendously, however. It was very tough for her. Um,
And I
so there
think
you
there's
go,
so many
moving around and
there's so many personality differences there with people where we've heard lots of stories of people coming on, they've had military background and they've moved around and it's been really challenging and difficult. And some people have loved it and you obviously thrived in that environment and your sister didn't so much. So I think it is just all these different personality types that respond to
yes, it
things
is.
differently.
They do. And Dad was retired, so we could have stayed in one place. We always had beautiful houses but it was just them. They just enjoyed moving around and enjoying starting again. And that's really built me, to start again no matter what, at so many levels, I suppose.
What was school like for you?
Easy, boring. Um, I was distracted. I was at times impertinent. Um, I was gifted. I didn't homework very much. It would take me 2 minutes. I was one of those children who was very the teachers liked me because I was good at school, but they hated me because I was always confronting them. And so yeah, it was I just frankly I don't think anybody's asked me that's Christian. I think I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, many friends and just the one that would take everybody's defense, and speak up and go, you can't talk to her like this, or it wasn't
Yeah, I
always
get
like.
that sense. Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun at school.
That's really good to hear. And we hear really mixed. Generally, our entrepreneurial guests struggle a bit at school because they don't like the system and they want to buck against it, and that gets them into trouble. So we hear that quite a lot as a theme with all of the entrepreneurs that are on this show. And yeah, I think from everything I've read, you are a real entrepreneur. You may have worked within, and I want to get to that, in a specific industry for a long time, but you've done it with lots of pivoting and lots of adjusting. So tell us about the career path. How did you go from being at school to getting into finance?
It's very me. So nothing's ever straightforward, nothing's ever logical, nothing is ever, you can't even think it's going to happen, right? So this is my whole career. I and this is important, I had a pen friend when I was very young. She still is my best friend forever. Like we've been together 37 years. She's my daughter's godmother and I'm her son's godmother. I mean, we are intertwined. It's a very strong relationship and she means a lot to me. So I have to bring her up. And then every year I would go to see her for a summer holiday when I was 11. And then she came to me and then, what is a pen friend thing. And then that year in 1998, I was at university, very bored, partying too much, bored. I was just learning. I loved the learning. I didn't like the system. And so she invited me to go for the summer. I went there and I stayed 13 years instead of a week. I basically called my mom and dad and went, look, guys, I love you dearly, but I love this here more. So I'm kind of staying. They're like, oh my God, you can't do that. So they literally 4 days later, my little sister in tow, they turned up on my doorstep and went, what are you doing? Come home, you haven't finished your studies. I said, well, you go and study. I don't want to go. I've got a job, I'm enjoying myself, I've got friends, I'm not going back home.
So this is one of the things about having a parent or both parents who can just literally pick up suitcases and move house, is that they can turn up on your door after a few days and say, "What the hell are you doing?"
They did. I'll never forget. I never forget. They're not here, either of them anymore. And but this is one of the moments that I remember fondly, with them just turning up and going, what the hell? In a bit of more of a rude way.
Yeah.
But they saw I was happy and they respected that. They went, look, get on with it. And I first worked for the French embassy. Again, loved the French, boring system because it was too procedural, too square. I mean, paperwork. Oh God, my worst nightmare. And then I completely by accident, again, or there's a happy accident, met someone who said, we're looking to hire a PA for Morgan Stanley. Would you like to go in the city? And I'm like, yeah. Have you ever done any admin work or PA work? No. Can you do it? Yes. So I went to Canary Wharf, had my interview, was hired on the spot, and the rest is history. I did over 20 years. I loved it.
So what was that work environment like? Because it sounds like there was some challenges there as well. It's not
Very
all
hard.
straightforward.
No, 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 it's very hard. It's so I started at Morgan Stanley and that was in 2000. So tough year, very tough year. I remember within the first few weeks, I turned up and whole floors were empty overnight. And I'm like, where are they? Even the plants had gone. And you go, whoa, this is something else. And at the time, I was the PA to the PA to one of the exco member. So I was making coffees and, filing papers and they basically said, Audrey, we are sorry. We can't keep you in this team. We can't fire all these floors and us having two or three PAs. It doesn't work. We don't walk the walk, talk the talk, whatever. And then they said, but we found you somewhere else. You got to go into comms. You'll be very good there. So they, instead of firing me, and I was last one in, they could have fired me easily, but they found me another job. And then little by little, I I grew to love the environment. It was fast-paced, it was very stressful, it was rude. It just forced me to get grounded. And I've learned over time that I could be myself and I could be softer and gentle and a woman. And I didn't have to be one of the boys to succeed. But it took me years because the first 10 years, I was only very young. And so it was really difficult to settle, and to grasp the opportunities that were given to me without thinking that I had to fight so hard. I did have to fight, but maybe I would have done it differently now.
Was
I
it
know.
quite was it quite a male dominated
Oh gosh,
area that you're in?
of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Yes, very, very much so. It was investment banking, back in 2000. And even today, I mean, I quit banking 5 years ago, so it's not so long ago. It's mainly, it's changed drastically. And I don't know if it's by pressure or by choice, but it has changed. But it was, yes, massively male oriented. It was
Yeah.
difficult. But, I've enjoyed that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I did. At 18, I started in a ship management company, very male focused, and was there for 12 years. So all of my formative kind of corporate life was in very male centric
Hmm.
spaces as a young girl. And you do, I think, have to adjust to a different way of perhaps than if it was a more mixed environment for survival.
Yes, it is. And, to the risk of being unpopular, which I never mind, I think that if I look back at my 20-year career, I've had the issues with some men, but most of the problem never came from them. They opened doors and gave me opportunities, and my boundaries were very clear. But women can be very feisty. in this kind of environment. And most of my issues didn't come from the male colleagues I had. It was just jealousy and bickering and God, get on with it. I mean, it's,
I agree. We've had this
you know,
conversation on this very podcast, haven't we,
Yeah,
with several women
several.
in male-dominated spaces that have all said the same thing. So it's
instead
really
of ganging
interesting.
together and not against them, but together to support each other with them, they gang solo to win first place in front of them. So instead of doing this way, they go that way. And it makes no sense because it doesn't, one, it doesn't give us the good name, and two, we just can't perform to our best if we don't feel this sorority. It's just important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
success is definitely a team sport. No matter what gender you are, it's a
absolutely.
team sport. It's like going solo is never the right path.
And if there's somebody, if you're always looking over your shoulder for the next person that's going to come and get at you, you're never going to feel
Yeah.
safe and secure and perform at your best.
No, you don't.
Do you think that your dad's military background had any weight on how you dealt with some of that stuff? Because
Yes.
your upbringing was quite
Very tough.
regimented.
Very tough. No, really tough. He was loving and caring and but oh my no, it was really hard. I We could do no wrong. There was no room for mistakes. There was no room for hesitation. There was no, I mean, this guy had been at war for over 30 years. Second World War, Indochina, Algeria. So he, most of his adult life, he was fighting. And it was very hard for him to adjust, and especially getting older and, getting sick and life at home was difficult. And there is one thing that I know that's not true. I'm very grateful for so many stuff that he gave us, but I suppose one thing that comes out is the resilience and he's always said to me, Audrey, I have been fighting so hard for your freedom, for you to be a woman free to do what you want. Don't let anybody, spit on all that hard work. Some of my best friends have died. I have been fighting all these years for you. So do me proud and just don't let anyone get in your way. And this is
That's
very
amazing.
strong, and I think it gave me shivers just talking about it. But I remember him always impeccably dressed, very smartly spoken. And, I haven't done all of that for you to just, lose track of what's important in life. So that's something that's stayed with me for sure.
How is that, do you think, for your mum? Because with the age gap, there was like generational difference. And she obviously bought into it because she embraced the whole lifestyle. But I can imagine even back then, it was quite a different way of living for someone of her age.
It was very hard. It was very difficult. I have eyes for her now, all these years later. So like, 35 years later, which I didn't have even 10 years ago. I see the I see the why of the choices that she's made in a different light. But of course, growing up, all I could see is dad making all the decisions, her going every at the end of the month, getting her check for the money for the month, and me thinking I'm never, ever, 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 ever gonna let anybody make me do that. He never made her do that. She chose to, by the way. But it was just, when you're 12, that's how you
Mm.
Yeah.
function, or 9, I can't remember. I was very young. And she found happiness in looking after us and having been, caring for the house. And they were having loads of parties and enjoying, receiving. And she was the perfect hostess and the perfect sidekick for dad. But there is one thing I know, she was always in his shadow for sure. And he was very, I don't know, solar, powerful and loved and feared. And it was someone. And I suppose when he passed away, she would have had a chance to rebuild her life. She was very young. Um, she was actually younger than me. She was 40 something, so, but she never did. And I think that's because when you live 25 years with somebody so, he was taking too much room for her to
Mhm.
blossom. And when he was gone, she hadn't even, been paying any bills really. I was looking after that. And so I think the trade-off is tough. with the life that she had. She was desperately in love with him, although she was always wasn't always happy. But that's just, that's the life she chose.
Mm.
And they don't always go hand in hand, sadly, love and
No,
happiness.
no.
For
And
whatever
very often they
reason,
don't
they don't.
actually. But
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. And they managed to hang in there together and bring us up, my little sis, in a beautiful way with good values. And that's all that matters, really.
Mm. I want to kind of get past the bit in the very
Uh,
sensational sentence in the intro because you can't ignore it. It was how, somebody said to us, come and speak to this amazing woman. She's been through this thing. And my first instinct was I just felt sick for you. I just read that sentence and I can't quite imagine what it's like to be accused of killing your own mum and being innocent of that. Just you can go into as much detail or as little as you like, but let's just address it because it's there. Um, what the heck happened?
I don't know. I know, and I don't know. Okay, it's one of these things that you think life and drama and trauma always happens to others, and I would, before I get into detail, I want to say that there is something I've learned. I've always known it, but I've never learned it and really embraced it. People are immune to pain. So we see so much pain and we see so much horror. People scroll past horror without even a blink of an eye. And the reason why we have been so not humble, that's not the right word, maybe halfway, but it's quiet about this whole thing is one, I had to heal first. And two, I didn't want to be seen or heard and reduced to that. And that was important for me to build my business, to concentrate on my healing, my family, before saying, look, guys, this is what's happened to me. And if I can do it, you can. So this is just an intro because it's important just to say that,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's one of these things. So I was always close to mum, especially since dad died. He died in 2001. So 20 years on between his passing away and mum's tragic, passing. I was very caring for her, like a lot. My sister moved to Canada years ago, and I was the one caring. So she was still living in the north of France, and she would come and see us very often. I have two daughters, and she was very close to my eldest, very, very close. And then I had another baby when I was 41. So like she was like, "What are you doing? You never wanted babies in the first place." I said, "Yeah, but I've enjoyed the first one, and now I've remarried, and oh, what the hell, Audrey style. Let's just do it again." And I'm so ever happy I did. So she came over for a few weeks in 2020, and the little subtlety, which is not the subtlety, is the trigger to the whole story, is that I had hurt my knee a few months earlier. So in November 2019, I hurt my knee badly, and I had an operation in January. Since then, I had two more on that knee, but that's the closing and probably the healing of the whole story. So she came and she said to me, "Look, you can count on me. I'm just gonna help you out, be there for you." And she was cooking, and she was a very good cook, and caring for Charlie, and just being an amazing grandma. And then when I came out of hospital, I said to her, "Look, let's go. You can drive," because I couldn't drive. I was still in my crutches and everything. I had a big surgery, my cruciate ligament and my meniscus and whatever. And I said, "I'm going to take you out for lunch because I care and thank you and I love you and let's go for girls' lunch." And then that day, sadly, was just her last day. Like it was just, so you go out for lunch, you have fun, you discuss many things, and she was obviously very proud of everything I was, doing and working for a big, famous private bank and succeeding. And it was just I suppose we never did that often because she was living far, and it was a very nice mum and daughter moment. And then we came back on the motorway, and then suddenly the world kind of stops at that point because she was. Um, I remember, in fact, we got married the year before, and I was on the phone to the photographer because we were doing a special album. And when I was on the phone, I could tell that the car was going too fast, and I was just like, going, "Mom, just slow down a bit. I'm on the phone." But I wasn't looking at her. Then I realized she actually was having a massive epileptic fit and she was not responding. So in those moments, I'm very, I mean, I can't say in those moments I'm very, it's the only moment that's so drastic in my life, but still, even when things get heated, I'm very level-headed, very grounded. I never panic. And so I was like, hold on. And I looked at her, I tried to speak to her, I realized there was nothing I could do. And then because she was speeding so bad, and it was a very, very busy time on the motorway. We were literally about to bump into other cars, and I just turned the wheel and off we went. Because in that moment, the only thought I had was, she's gone. I don't know where she's gone, but there's nothing I can do. If someone's got to die, it's me. I can't let all these people hurt. And that's the only thing that I could think of at that moment. Um, and that's it. And the crash was extremely violent. We tumbled so many times, and then the police, the helicopters, and everybody turned up. It's it's weird how your body and your soul can be dissociated in the moments where I talk about these moments. Like right now, I'm healed, so I'm not suffering, but I can still smell, hear, everything that was at that moment. It's a very it's such a life-changing event in so many ways. And I suppose what I'm trying to do through all the work I'm doing and speaking to you today also is to show how strong we are as human beings if we manage to separate the injury, the tragedy, I suppose that's what I want to say, from what really happened. It was awful. It was incredibly violent, but I'm here. My children are healthy, and I want to turn this, and I am actually turning this into something beautiful, because that's what you would want,
Mm.
I suppose.
At what point did you realize that this was coming back at you in a way that just makes no sense to me hearing what you just said, and that you end up in the press for something that's just so it was an accident?
Because I'm the one that turned the wheel. So because I tempered with the wheel when she was driving, and when the police came on site and I was being obviously taken care of, my face was bruised and broken, and they were like questioning me really kindly but firmly. I explained to them what I did, and that was kind of it. I was taken to hospital, then I was taken home, and then at 10 o'clock in the evening, the police called and said, "You have to come in. We have read the report. This is very serious. You have to come in, otherwise we'll come and get you." And I was in shock, like half passed out. Can you imagine, a few hours after this? And my husband had to take me in, and they questioned me from 10 o'clock at night until 3:30 in the morning. Just going, why did you do that? And I explained to them, look, this is what happened. They wanted to know if we had money issues. They wanted to know, I don't know. Look, they were doing their job. I was in tears. I was in so much pain. the lawyer that was there was okay, but I've never seen him before. He was just one of those lawyers that just put in you. And then at the end of this terrible, I don't know what you call it. It's not an interview, it's a questioning, I suppose. They just said, look, you can't leave for a while because this is what's happening. You're now, you're not a witness to an accident. You're actually implied in your mum's death, and we have to further, investigate, and the car and everything else. And I just went home going, what?
It's hard to even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from what was extensively just your automatic decision-making process in a crisis situation, it can't really have any logic at that moment because you're making split-second decisions based on,
Split
gut
second.
instinct. Yeah.
Literally split second. Like it
Yeah.
was, I think half a second later, it would have been a disaster.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, who else would have suffered, it's I mean,
Families, kids, I don't know. I mean, it's just
absolutely. I
ridiculous.
mean, it's I think you did an incredibly heroic thing, actually. Um, and maybe that's how it should have been framed at the time, but
I
you
know.
know, we can't undo that. But it's funny because I've been in a car accident on the motorway, so I've been in that situation. I've also lost my mum suddenly through natural causes, but in a shock situation. They're both incredibly devastating situations. I can't even fathom putting the two together, one on top of the other, and
Yeah.
then being questioned, interrogated even by the police on top of that. It's just, yeah, I'm a bit in shock just hearing the story.
I know you are, which was kind of why I was looking at you because Matt's car accident was a year ago, almost exactly, and you were in so much pain. And when I came to the hospital to take him home, he was, he couldn't move for weeks. He was in so much pain and physical pain, and how you then deal with the emotional pain and the questioning and the physical pain on top of all of that stuff. And about 6 months later, you got a letter through saying they weren't pressing charges. And you sort of went, well, of course they're not pressing. Why would they have pressed charge? I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know they were looking at pressing charges because it just happened that Matt was at the back of a 6-car pileup. And these things happen in like they're accidents, they're so split second, and as you say, like your body and your soul kind of separated, didn't they got you out of the car.
Oh, I was in another world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely. So while I can't, completely empathize with the whole impact of everything at once, like the individual elements, I'm kind of there with you. It's quite mad. And I think like the legacy of your dad's, resilience and being able to sort of march through that really carried you through, I think. Like I'm
I think
guessing,
so
but
too. No, I think
um
you're right. I think
And
you're
this was
right.
only 5 years ago, so
Yeah, just 5 years, yeah.
this
yeah.
was not long ago at all.
No.
And um so how long did that whole process take for you then to draw the line and say, right, we're going to rebuild?
Maybe a month. After a month,
Wow.
I was like, bear in mind, my daughters were young. They were 16 and 18 months old. Um, I I just thought there's not many ways of looking at it. I thought either I'm literally going to give in to the pain and give in to the trauma and be on pills for the rest of my life and psychiatrists and my marriage probably would have gone by then because there is one thing that the people who have been through something like that, and I've read so much about it, as you bet, is that they then compare their pain to everybody else's and they lack empathy to people who break their nails. I'm being very dramatic here, but what happens is when you go through something so extreme, you then go, oh, look, And then people don't talk to you anymore because their first sentence is always going like, oh, there's nothing compared to you, but and I didn't want that. I don't want to lack empathy and to lack love just because life has been so unkind and unfair to me, to others. And that's the promise I've made myself in the first few weeks after this, because I could feel already the tension between me and the rest of the world. And this is something I've worked on, and I'm still working on it because I think it's a lifetime journey, to be remaining caring and loving and appreciate people's pains, even if in the absolute scheme of things, yes, it was pretty shit. So, the rebuild for me was a question of embracing what's happened, cry whenever I had to cry. And I made little files. Like, the court case, there's nothing I can do. Every morning I get up and I'm wondering whether I'm going to be charged. You don't know. This lasted 18 months. Remember, it was full of COVID. Impossible to call anyone, impossible to get any answer to anybody. My lawyer was trying. So 18 months of just not knowing what was going to happen of me. So I decided to go, okay, I'm going to heal my soul and my body. Everything admin-wise I cannot deal with, I'm just going to leave. And this mental break has helped me focus on, right, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to take the time to be there for my girls. And que sera, sera. And of course, add all of that, COVID and everything else, and my daughter dropping off school, the eldest one, is the fact that everybody was like, Audrey, look what's happened to you. You're just reacting. You're not thinking. You can't give up that job. I mean, you're an executive director for one of the biggest names in the world. You're not going to leave that job. I'm the breadwinner at home. So my whole world was shaking, and people putting so much pressure on me to stay where I was, maybe get a 50%, maybe. And I just remember looking at them going, little minds, no, it's not going to happen. You can care and love someone and give the worst advice. Remember that. So don't think that
yes,
because they love you, they're going to give you the best advice. It's not true. Very often it's all the other way around because they project their own fears on you. And I just looked at them and I said, look, thank you. I love you. No. That's exactly how it went. And that was it. And I launched in 2021. I'm so happy I did. What a journey. And on the 2nd of July, my birthday, can you believe, I received this green letter saying charges are, dropped and you're free to go. And I'm like, okay, now I can reopen that file.
oh,
What
that must have felt.
no deal. Oh, I cried all day on my birthday that year. All day.
Oh, I bet.
And the moment I was crying, I was stopping, I was crying again.
What a
Unstoppable.
birthday present.
Yeah.
Your birthday's the day after mine.
Ah, well, good.
Good
There's,
Cancerians together.
there's something that really struck me in sort of the first few minutes of our talk today, and hearing your story, and it just keeps building and building and building for me. So I'm going to jump in on it right now. Something that sort of entrepreneurs and leaders in business struggle with their whole lives, many of them, is accepting the fear and the risk that you might lose everything and have to start again from scratch. And many make unbold choices and decisions based on that fear throughout their career. I know I've struggled with it at times. Your parents literally taught you from the first age that actually doing that might be fun. That might be a really cool thing to do. Get rid of everything, start again, new place, new knives and forks and spoons,
I know.
from scratch. And
It is an amazing learning,
it's
actually.
amazing. Yeah.
It is. At the time, I was questioning whether they were stable. I was thinking, again,
Yeah.
God, now, what now? What have you seen now? What do you like there? But no, it's followed me through my whole life, whether it's at work. I mean, I've changed jobs maybe 11 times. Always by opportunity, people coming to pick me up, I've never really, yeah, I was just always at the right place at the right time, I suppose. And then through my love life as well, and I've had 3 long-term relationships, and every time I always say I'm not a tree. If I'm not happy, I'm moving. So if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's sad, but hey ho, you know, I suppose I'll stand still when I'm dead, and it's not for now. So
I've got a feeling you probably may not stand still even then.
Yeah. Oh. So you gave up corporate life, you gave
yeah,
up the security of directorship, and all
yeah.
the rest of it. What was and is the new mission?
What was what?
What's the new mission? What have you
Oh,
gone
wow.
into?
Now I have
Yeah.
many. I have many. I think that I'd be very unhappy with just one, or probably bored. I have many. So, 3 things I can share, I suppose. The first thing is the consultancy bit. I'm enjoying working with people first. It happens that all of my clients today are big groups, big corporates in luxury finance. Is the network is not a choice, and I'm very happy to work with smaller companies. I've done it, and it's just that's how it's been. And what I do is I do consultancy in HR strategies based on also internal communication, people engagement, retention, and care leadership. This is, I suppose, the squarer side of what I do because it's quite structured and it's very visionary. I'm side by side with the client and I come in and I help them out. Sometimes they have big cabinets working on bigger mandates, which I can't handle, but they will hire me to help them out, sort out the relationships. And I'm a bit like an in-house lawyer sometimes, looking at what the outside world is, presenting them and making sure it suits their best interests for those topics anyway. So that's the first side, and then the second one is coaching. I particularly love working with teams and understanding dynamics, working with their managers, their leaders. And what I try to do is I'm very informal in my way. I'm like I speak to you, I speak to them, and I suppose the fact that I've been where they are, I'm not just suddenly deciding, oh, I'm going to be a coach. Dot dot dot. I've been there and I know what it's like. So that helps also build credibility and in what I can share with them. I work on many topics, but centralized is assertivity. No surprise there. Assertivity, resilience, the power of no. I always say to them, every time you say no, you say yes to something else. Think about it. It will help you. And a lot of public speaking, help them, get grounded. So a lot of mediation as well, just get people to get a little bit of insights and perspective, right? I called my business smart perspective because I was often told during my corporate years, oh my God, oh, get Audrey's perspective. She will give you another perspective. I just got this thing, I suppose, where everybody is gonna go and see a situation in one way, and I'll come in and go, oh, but what about if we do it that way? And they go, oh, didn't think of that. So, um, so that's the second bit is the coaching bit, and I was with a team yesterday actually, and I really really enjoyed it. It was tough. It was a tough day. The environment is complicated at the moment, with the tariffs and the
Mm.
geopolitical environment is really causing so much strain on my current clients, especially in the luxury industry. And so it was a session on assertivity and negotiation. So how do you negotiate? What's your, you know, what is it that your best alternative, yeah, to the negotiated agreement? What is it that you can let go of without letting go of you and your values and what you stand for? So that's that. And then the last bit, the third bit, is all my pro bono work and the passion projects, for education. I teach also in the business school, and I'm launching a Women in Politics Leadership Academy for the federal, the local government in Geneva. So that's going to be very exciting. We're launching on October 4th. And just helping women take their space, find their voice. Either they're already in politics locally, or they want to get into it, but they just don't know how to, to get around it. So that's that. Very busy.
I was going to say, so basically, you just sat back with a cup of tea, putting your feet up, casual. Maybe later, in many
When I'm
years,
when I'm older,
when you're older.
much older.
If if you've got a team and they've had setbacks, like we have seen some pretty famous CEOs out there that have had scandals going on in the
Mhm.
last few months,
Oh yeah,
what would your what would your advice be to them? Because I think we all deal with when you've got your own business or you're high up in a business, you've all got your own shit to deal with. Let's face it. We've all got stuff that goes on. There's affairs, there's bad business
yeah.
choices, there's all sorts of things that happen that can really make you just go back into your shell and hide from the world and go, I'm going to hide now. What would your advice be to those people?
Don't hide. Don't hide. Why are you hiding? So yesterday you were amazing and the best, thing since sliced bread. Is that the expression in English? So you were the
Yes.
best thing ever, and suddenly you were just human, and the world shuts down. Apologize, do what's right. Don't hide. I mean, who here has never lied, never misbehaved, never done something wrong, never spoke badly to anybody, never dismissed someone. Come on, I'm not saying we should support it. I'm saying we should take accountability for what we've done, okay? And then the agency to remain present, because otherwise life is not worth living, and life is full of those stumbles, and you rise, and the closer you get to the sun, the harder you fall, right? We all know the story. And so if that's the case, all right, well, I know the scandal you're referring to has been all over all the, socials. And socials are terrible for that, because
Yeah.
people are so mean when it comes to these
And
things,
judgy.
and judgy, and let them be. Let them be. Thank you. You're spending time commenting on my story. You've got nothing else to do with your life. I'm glad I'm entertaining you. Let me move on. Please let me move on. And then that energy should be saved for caring for the people who are involved, right? The families, the friends, the kids. If you waste your energy wondering about the world, you're not there for the people who really matter. And
Mm.
that's the problem. We're not, there is not an unstoppable, I don't know, this is going to be a very clumsy sentence, I'm sorry, but there is not an unstoppable source of energy. There's only so much we can do, and you need to save it for the what matters. And I don't think social media and all of this matters. It does, because it can kill you. It can kill a make in 2 minutes, well, half a second. It can kill a life, and it's done it many times. We've seen it. So please just don't hide. Don't. Unless you want to and you feel like you need to. That's a different story. But I don't think you should have to.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I do think it's such a state of the world where the whole everything in everybody's life that's out there is open to comment by anybody.
Of course.
And it's just they don't know the whole story. And if people read your headline, they make a whole assumption about all sorts of things that they know nothing about whatsoever. How did your
Exactly.
kids deal with you having to go through all of that stuff? Because you just mentioned like there's an impact to all the family, and
Of
you
course.
had to spend a lot of energy, I suppose, protecting them from it.
Yes, a lot. Ella was how old was Ella? 5, so she was 16. And
It's a tough age anyway.
oh, bang in the middle of COVID, she dropped off school. It was hard, very hard. And we spoke about it, not extensively. I protected her from my darkest days when I was really unwell and crying. Because she knew I was suffering, there was no need to expose her overly to how bad things were. There was no need for it. And so while she knew there was an ongoing investigation, while she knew all of that, I was respectful also of her own healing. Because as I said, they were very, very close.
Well, she's lost her grandma.
Yeah.
And,
And
you know,
so
yeah,
um, what I did was, and Charlie was far too small, so and she wouldn't approach me for weeks and weeks because I was so bruised and so she wouldn't recognize me. She was only 18 months, so she would even let me approach her or pick her up or anything. It was really tough. So you deal with it in the best way you know. You rely on friends and my husband, and when until the time is right to speak about it again.
yeah. So there will be a lot of business leaders out there who are going through some stuff,
Yeah,
whether it's personal stuff, whether it's
yeah,
work stuff. And I always say that these things do naturally bleed into each other. There
of
is no
course.
way you can have a terrible day at work and it doesn't come through the door, because it does. But what would your advice be for people in those situations, that what can they do before they walk through the door?
At work or at home?
Either direction.
So let's start with home. I Again, I'm very vocal about my own opinions. They're only mine, okay? It's my view.
Yeah.
All right. Disclaimer. So I believe that you need to be talking. Like, for example, let me give you an example. I'm full on into my premenopause. It's terrible. I've never been moody. I'm very leveled. I've never been shouting. I don't shout. I express myself. I don't shout. I'm very, at the moment, I could scream all day some days, right? So what I've done is I've taken my husband and my girls and I said, look, this is what I'm going through. If I'm over the top, if I'm screaming, if I had a bad day at work, if you feel I'm just overreacting for anything, just look at me and say, Mommy, we love you. You're going to be fine. That's it. Don't try and tell me I'm not doing the right thing. Don't try and reason me, because that would send me really the other way. Don't even try to understand what's going on and be kind to me and no. Just say, Mommy, we love you. It's going to be fine. That's it.
I
Yes,
knew you
but
were, I knew you were side looking at me.
it's important. You need to. They can't. I say it again, the people who love you most can be the worst advisors and the worst carers. So be vocal about what you want. And if you had a bad day at work, you can say, today was tough. I'm sorry I'm not going to be so available for you this evening. Maybe this is this and that. Of course, if it's every day for long periods of time, maybe there's something that needs to shift the other way as well. All right. So we are dealing here with the odd few days or weeks, which can be tough. I know what it's like. I travel quite a bit. Sometimes, I come home and people have missed me. And so you just need to adjust what I'm saying. But if it's something that's on the odd, then say it and just be open about it. Of course, as I said, if it's something that's repeatedly causing you to be away from the people who, expect you and you're not preventing you from having a balanced life, then this is definitely something we should be looking at. And for the other way around, I think it's about balance. If you have a boss, if you have a boss that tells you, look, work is work, home is home, I don't want to hear about it. Your kid's been up all night, your wife this and this and that, your mum's sick, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, you come to work, you come to work. I would say change jobs. Seriously.
Me too.
Like, don't. Don't do that. Don't make me be a machine. You have all the machines and the robots in the world available to you now. You can speak to them, but I can't be that person. That's the first thing. And then the second one, if somebody comes and tells you their whole story and their whole life and their problems, run away as well. But it's about balance. Okay? We can
Yeah.
carve out time for a coffee and be personal. We can be caring. We spend like, I don't know, 60 hours a week at work. I mean, for me, it's like, so you need the balance of people who care for you, who are there for you, to the level where we can remain professional and get the job done. And if you are having a bad day because life is tough, then talk about it and make sure you have a shoulder to cry on, because that's what colleagues are for too.
Yeah. There's always that colleague who has a drama pretty much every day of the week. Now, they're the ones that you're allowed to go and hide in the loo when you see them coming. But there's always a space for empathy within the
Yes,
work
I agree.
environment
There should
because
be.
we
And there
are
should
humans.
be. We are humans. And more, that's what's going to make us different. And that's what's going to make our humanity is so precious. This is the whole red thread of my business. Yeah. Our humanity, bring your humanity to its beauty. And its beauty is your sensitivity, is your decision-making process, it's your resilience, is how you federate, is no new ChatGPT, no, nothing can do that today. So we need to nurture it in a way that serves us, serves the team, serves our work. But that requires work, quite a lot of it.
Mm.
I think we become lazy as human beings.
You've worked a lot in male-centric spaces. What would you say to men to get them to talk more? Because you're advocating now for talking more, and men in the workplace inherently don't like talking about feelings and emotions. They like to box it off or hide it because that might make them seem weak or less of the alpha player in the corporate space. What do you say to those guys?
So it's a good question. And I have to say, I feel for them in a way that it's become so much more complex. Those relationships at work between men and women have become very complex. They've become very sterile, dry, and so politically correct that we're losing the banter. I'm talking about correct banter. Yeah, I've been through discrimination. I know what it's like. It's not been easy. I'm not validating any of that. What I'm saying is we should be able to joke and have healthy banter. But now, of course, there is this, rebalancing that needs to be done. I think we've gone too much one way. We need to come back, not completely the other way, because I think that was wrong. But we kind of need to balance it a little bit. It's always about balance. And I suppose what I would say to them is, what do you want to achieve? What's your intention? My clients call me Mrs. Intention. What do you want to achieve? And they will tell me what they want to achieve. And I'll say, how do you think you're going to get there? And I'm telling you, if they don't speak about the way they're going to do it, how they're going to present their ideas, how they're going to show up as a human being, they will not get there. So one of the ways that I know works is to focus on the end goal. I often say in my coaching, I say, look, do you ever take the bus without knowing where it's going? It can. Maybe one day you're having a bad day, you just get on the bus and see where the world is taking you. Okay. I've never done that, but
Me neither, Audrey. I'm with you.
So if you're gonna get somewhere, you look at the destination. And very often those conversations, there's no destination. We just don't know what the people want. We don't know where they're taking us. So we are very on our reptilian way. We're like, wow, why is he saying that to me? Why is she saying that to me? What's going on? So by clarifying the end goal and the destination, then I give them the choice of how they get there. And I tell you, they cannot get there just with the tools, just with the expertise. They need to get there with their grit, with their love, with their fears, with their vulnerability, with their strength, with their vision. But all of that is part of it. That's how I address it anyway.
Yeah, I love that. It's great.
Yeah.
Really good. And I will probably steal that analogy of the bus. I'll
Well,
apologize now.
You use sat nav all the time. That's your analogy. That's like you never program in a sat nav with not knowing where you are and not knowing where you're going.
Yeah, the Google Map. I use the Google Map as well.
Yeah. You just wouldn't do that. One of the things I wanted to ask, and I have lost completely my track, so I'm just going to have a think about
You have a
it.
think about that because I've got a question that's burning. When you are starting again, or as near as damn it starting again, how do you choose as a leader in business or life what you keep from the past and what you ditch and rebuild from scratch?
Oh, this is a great question. And you know what? Why are we so binary? Why are we so black and white? What do I leave? Do I stay? Do I love him? Do I hate him? Do I need to go there or there? Why can't we blend? Why can't we try and I don't think we should be you know what? I don't think success is about being binary. You should be able to say, oh, I've enjoyed doing that. I didn't really enjoy doing that very much, but I tell you what, maybe I need it again and I'll see. So I'm never 180 degrees on anything. I think it's so much more fun first and so much more easier on the brain and on our heart if we don't have to let go of anything just yet, unless we are absolutely sure it's not doing us any favor, right? But again, if we are balanced, and this is a very important word for me, why would I have to leave and start new stuff? Maybe I can take some of it. Maybe I'll just try some of it later. I just, first of all, I thought I was going to do exactly the same as I was doing in the bank outside. Then I quickly realized there was no room for it, So then I thought, okay, well, I'll leave it on the side. I'll try something else. And that didn't work. And then I thought, oh, okay. Then clients go, well, do you know how to do that? I go, yeah, give it a go, and it works. And then sometimes it doesn't work. And that's also fine. So I wouldn't say you decide what to let go of and what to keep. I think you have a list, you see what you'd love to do, you try it, and then you keep on going into your tank of information and use whatever you need at the time that you need it.
Yeah, that's great. And actually leads nicely onto the question that I've now remembered
Huh.
is what has been your most surprising lesson from your big pivot and your change of direction and, well, all the change of directions that you've had?
My big lesson.
What
Um,
surprised you the most?
that people fear so many things that haven't happened yet. People are paralyzed by fear. And I suppose what has surprised me, I don't think I fear anything apart from my girls. I mean, they are my life and soul. So that's probably my only, not weakness, but I would like to protect them from any harm happening to them. But apart from that, you know,
You are a warrior.
yeah, with a big heart, it's important.
Yeah.
Love is important. Caring is important. Listening to others and, leave your ego at home and explore the world with fresh eyes every day is so, so powerful.
Yeah, it really is. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You Audrey, you've achieved something that hasn't happened yet on the podcast. You've left us both speechless, which is
Doesn't happen very often,
it's
does
never happened.
it?
It's never happened. But I'm processing so much. It's amazing. Absolutely love it. It's yeah.
I, it's this has never happened where we get to this point where we're both kind of a bit like, shit, there's a lot going on in my head right now.
Yeah,
Good.
you've given me so much to think about. Yeah, I'm really sort of going right, okay, yeah. And because I loved your answer to my question about what do you leave behind and what do you take forward? Because I was pretty sure you were going to dive into the narrative of like assess your values and like, but it wasn't.
Bullshit. I
It
don't
was
believe
like
in that.
go out, experiment, like have some fun, play with it.
Yes.
Like I love that.
It's crazy. Absolutely. We're walking on our heads thinking, what's my value? What's important to me? You box yourself and you go, no, but my value is this. So if it's outside, I can't try it. But it doesn't mean anything. The only thing that matters is where your heart is. And so I have very strong values, but they evolve over time and they take different shapes and forms depending on who I'm with and what I'm experimenting, what I'm reading and what I'm watching. And it's because we are so look at my body when I talk about it, when we're so closed,
Yeah,
and we have a line and you can't get out of the line and you can't think things through differently and get on with it. It's fine.
That's really interesting you say that. I'm a massive fan of values, and when I found my values, I found it really freeing because it was like it was a real process I went through. But for me, it was like, okay, I know that I've got a real driving value of togetherness. So when this and this is happening and it means that we're not together, I know why it feels bad in my body. So I can either choose to still do that I know what it is, or I can choose to do something different. So I love the fact actually that you've given me a completely different view of it. Um, and neither view is wrong. And I love the experimentation thought of it, because I've always said values are fluid, but we do have those that are
Of
instilled in
course.
us which you've had as well, from very young, that kind of never leave us. And when we're aware of those, we can kind of go, oh, that's why I made that decision. Oh, that's why I'm making that decision again. Oh, that's why I'm making that decision again. But these are really shit decisions. So I need to look at my values. And I've spent a lot of time in the last 3 years having to reassess my values because of the kids and because of certain things, choices they're making and stuff. And I have to go, okay, I need to let go of that value of the traditional education system that I was brought up with. And I have to let go of, and this is letting go, but it's picking and choosing, isn't it? And I
That's what I
love that.
mean.
Yeah, great.
The problem is, and I'm so persuaded this is that values are can be opening, and they can be opening doors and opening worlds and helping us learn, or they can be closing, right?
Yeah.
No, this is out of my values. I'm not doing it. Oh, my values togetherness. This is a solo thing. I'm not going. Oh, this is yeah. So to pick up on your lead, and I'm just thinking, but maybe that
Yeah.
was just a place where you could have brought togetherness. Yeah, maybe you could have done something with it. It's not, I think values is not just a framework, it's also a destination, to go back onto our analogy. And it's because so many people go, no, I need justice, my value is justice, and this is not fair, so I'm not ever gonna go back, or I'm gonna leave this job or whatever. And I'm like, but if it's justice, why do you make it a framework that closes you into it? Make it a destination. How can you bring those justice just in your perimeter, in what you can influence? I mean, you can't put the road straight. It's never going to happen. If one day I have the power to do that, oh my God, it's never going to happen. But I can, I can touch your heart today, and that would be good for me as a day,
You
So
definitely have touched our heart, that's for sure. And I was thinking when you're telling your whole story about your massive sense of justice and injustice and fighting for people, and how hard that must have been during the whole process for you to
yeah.
would have had to have put that part of you aside almost, just to weather that 18 months, because if you'd constantly been fighting all the time, that would have been no good to anybody.
But absolutely. Oh, I would have been sinking
Mm.
very, very low. Trust me, it was a dark place. So it's not this value has gone. It's just that at that point, I thought it's been tested. I cannot do anything about it. I just focus my energy on something else. That's
Yeah,
it. Shift and go where you can make a difference. I don't think there's any other way, really. Or for
no,
me, there wasn't.
I agree.
No, it's amazing. I've got two questions that they're quite similar. One is sort of more personal focused, and one's more team focused.
Hmm.
But the first one is, what advice would you give to anyone returning to work after some sort of personal or professional crisis?
So everybody deals with it differently. Some people are going to be very vocal about it and are going to want to talk about it all the time. It's part of the healing. It wasn't my case, but some people can be like that. And I suppose I would say to them, be careful. Um, not because it's important to you that it's a priority for others, and people are immune to pain. So they will dismiss you, and it doesn't mean that they dismiss your story or your pain. They will dismiss you because they will want to move to something else very quickly. That's tough, but the life is brutal, and humanity can be beautiful and it can be brutal. So my first advice, if you feel that you're not completely healed, and you're still, we have a psychologist and you have a team of people helping you out, do think long and hard as to who you confide into, when, how often, and what you say. Not because people don't love you or don't care for you, but because your priority, your pain, your ordeal is nowhere near their planets. They have their own stuff going on. And you will feel consistently dismissed if you are not careful on who you confine to and how often. That's the first piece of advice. The second one will be whatever you feel, I don't know how the benchmark is. What's really bad? What's traumatic? What's not? What's fair? What's not? What's unfair? Um, and are you ready to receive people's empathy and I was about to say pity, but I don't want to sound down great down would it,
Yeah, we know what you mean by that, though.
yeah, I don't want people to so if you are going back and something, you've lost someone near close to you, or something bad has happened to you, or recovering from cancer. I've seen this a few weeks ago with a client, for example. People will show you support and they will show you love. You need to embrace it. It's their way of caring. And your need to be back to normal will dismiss them in their care for you. So again, balance, because they will want to be there for you. Don't take it as they think you're weak and you're not back to your full self. Think they love you. But that's hard because you just want to go, hey, I'm back in. It's fine. I'm healthy. Home is complicated. Let me be powerful at work, right? But it doesn't work that way. Why? Because people at work are people and they will want to show, you know. So really the advice is find the balance between how much care and love you're ready to receive. If it's too much, you can say so, but accept it anyway, some of it. And if you are not completely healed or you still really need to talk about it, be careful who you confide into. It can turn back against you. And it doesn't mean what you have is not important and what you're going through is not terrible. It just means that people have other priorities, and that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I've lived that experience myself with when I went back after postnatal depression. I was very vocal, and
Mm.
I know on hindsight, I was just boring the hell out of everybody.
Yes.
I was miserable and they were bored. But it took a long time for me
Yeah.
to get to the point that you just said there, which, and I may not have even if I'd known, because I think part with I recently was diagnosed with ADHD, and sometimes I'm like, why did I just say all of that stuff? And I think we do sort of talk and then go expect everybody just to absorb all of our stuff. So it's having that awareness, I think, isn't it? That some people just don't want to hear about your stuff, and that's fine.
Of
And
course
if you
it's
choose to
fine.
talk about it, you just got to deal with the fact that they may not want to listen.
Yes.
Yeah, and I really love the point you said about receiving love graciously,
Yeah.
when it is given, because it's so easy for us to dismiss, even simple compliments like "you look great today." Quite often we rebut that with, "Oh no, 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 not really,"
I
It's
love
which
your
all
dress. Oh, it's just an old thing.
yeah, exactly. Which just completely throws their love back in their face.
Yeah.
So it is a hard lesson, but I think it's a great one. So the second part of my question, that was sort of at the personal level, but for a team who's embarking on what they know is going to be a major transformation
Um,
period, what's your advice for them?
it's a complex question. It's so multidimensional. Transformation doesn't exist anymore to me. It's ongoing. We're never going to be settled again, ever. There was no transformation implies an A and a B, and you go from A to B, right? When you study change management, that's what they teach you. You go from
Yeah.
a point A to a point B, and then you have C's and D's, but there's a destination. That frankly, I think this is gone. I don't believe in that anymore. I don't believe in the classic waterfall, project stuff. I think today what was happening is it's a revolution every day. It's a daily revolution. It's not a transformation.
Mhm.
People need all the time to keep up with what's happening, and it's changing, and they work for months and months on something, and then it just shifts, and then suddenly it has to go. It's obsolete. And so my advice to them is to really refocus on their intention, because if your intention is to work and be recognized for the work and the quality that you work on and your deliverable every day, I think this is going to cause massive, massive issues. Because the recognition now is not going to be on the end work, is how you process every day the changes, the turmoils, the redirections. And so we go from a very static recognition to a very dynamic daily dynamic of how you are seen in the workplace. If you don't shift and don't understand that this is not personal, It's not because you did this project badly. It's not because your deliverable was crap, or it's just that what we're looking at is, are you taking it personally and saying, I'm not valued because what I've delivered is not valued? Or will you understand that your value is not exactly just the static deliverable, it's how you deal with the daily changes. But this redefinition of value is very important. It's part of my work. It's understanding that you cannot value teams and their performance the same way as you used to 10, 15 years ago. It doesn't work. We need to redefine the parameters by which we are, and people talk about KPIs and OKRs, and don't get me started on this, but I really want people to understand that it's their capacity to lean in towards each other, talk, listen to each other, and be agile. I hate that word, but I have to use it in the way that, because it's so galvaudé. I don't know if there's an equivalent in English, but it's just so overused. Yeah, leadership, agility, whatever. But that's how you're going to be redefined. That's the value that you're going to bring, is be creative, be vocal, be respectful, and be ready that whatever it is you've been working on for so long is just going to be out of the window tomorrow. And that's fine. Just start again. It doesn't matter. This is not what you're going to be, assessed on. It's how you rebound. You rebound or you jump back again on your feet or whatever. When that happens, embrace the opportunity to do something new. So the redefinition of value, I think, is absolutely key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it's time for the last question.
I think it is time for the last question, which is, one of my favorite bits of the podcast. Because I get to do my Desert Island Discs moment, which is the closest I'm probably likely to get to being on the radio. And also,
you never know. Life is full of surprises.
Absolutely. And also, I get a whole load of new input that I can go away and feast on. So, would you please give me one book, one piece of music, and a tool or framework that has completely revolutionized your journey that you want to share with our listeners and viewers? So, book to start with.
A book. Okay, a book. I wouldn't say revolutionized. I don't think that would be appropriate. However, it's been instrumental in teaching me how to pause and not jumping into thinking I have the answer to everything all the time. I think humanity, people, and the workplace, and same for couples, by the way. This might be another conversion in my next work, because I seem to be giving advice there. It's about the answer to a question is a question. That's the title of the book.
Brilliant. Love it.
And it really helps understand that you're much more powerful if you're more inquisitive and more curious about what the person means rather than wanting to jump. So I would say The Answer is a Question is probably a very good book to read.
Yeah, love that. I don't know that one, so we're going to find it and read it, and there'll be a link in the show notes below, everyone. So go and grab the link and check it out for yourselves. How about music? This is one that quite often stumps guests.
God, music is my life. I listen to music a lot and very loud, obviously. So what do I like? I don't know. What can I pick one out of all of them?
You can pick a genre. People cheat on the music all the time.
Yeah.
So
No, but at the moment, I'm listening to Macy Gray and Michael Moore. These are the two things I'm listening to a lot, very loud. And Cadillac is one of my favorites of Michael Moore. So I love that. And yeah. And in terms of genre, I just love the Avner, for example. They rhythm a lot of my life, and I've actually always put an Avner music piece before my group coaching in the room, because it's just one of those things I've noticed. I mean, I've accompanied probably like, I don't know, 1,700 people for the last 4 years, and there's the one it's the one group that every time it's in the room, people, I've tried many, but the Avner is always, and the Panama piece that they've done is particularly my favorite. In fact, you know what? Maybe I'll pick that one. Panama from the Avner. That's really good.
Great.
Awesome.
We'll also put a link to that. And a tool or framework.
To the risk of sounding a little bit obnoxious, which I'm not at all, but I'm going to quote one of my tools, and it's absolutely helped me heal. I've created the 3I framework, which is a very powerful framework to frame conversations, frame mediations, frame anything that involves interactions. And the 3I framework is intention, no surprise, influence, and impact. And so very quickly, intention is about understanding exactly the intention behind the word, the action. So what is my intention? Like really, really the underlying one. You peel the onion until you get to the raw piece of it. Influence is nothing to do about your influence. It's all about others. What do they know? What do they fear? What do they want? So you really work hard on trying to understand those 3 things from the people who you're going to address. And it can be, a conference, or it can be a client meeting or a friend, And then impact is all about being very, very intentional about what you want. And that's 1, maximum 3 things you want them to remember, because people have very, very short attention span and don't give a shit. Life is brutal. So 3 things. And if they remember 3 things, you're a lucky girl. So, oh man. So 3 things you want them to remember, things you want them to feel, because that's going to determine how you dress, how you address them, your tone of voice, the words you use, and 1 thing you want them to do. Just 1. And I think this framework I've shared it with so many people, and it has been my compass for the last 5 years. It's not completely true because I built it 3 years ago, but it's kind of been the fruit of my journey.
Yeah.
I love that. Really powerful framework.
And we love when people use their own framework.
Yeah, we really do.
We absolutely champion that.
Good.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm going to cheat slightly. I've got another question for you, and that's, is there anything that you want to tell the world today that we haven't got out of you?
You're okay. You're just okay. It's what did they say? What did they do? It doesn't matter. Just let people be, whatever it is. The world is a terrible state, and we are capable of the worst and the best, and just make sure you do the best, and whatever it is that you're concentrating on is fine. Recently I turned 48, and there's a sentence that I know has resonated with many because I've received so many nice messages after publishing it. And I just said, everybody wants you to be everything for everyone, right? The world just wants you to be everywhere for everybody, but I just want you to be you for you. And if you start with that, then you're going to have a good day.
That's great. Love it.
Thank you.
Absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing your time with us and for being so open and honest and vulnerable with us. It's been an amazing hour and a bit, and we've really loved it. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
given us so much to think about and take away, and the same for our listeners and viewers. I know. I can't wait for this one to go live.
Thanks,
Thank you
Audrey.
very, very much for the opportunity and for your generosity. It's been a great moment.
Oh, Jenny, your life's just one big drama. This was what my auntie said to me, and it inspired me to put all my dramas in one book. So if your life is full of drama, and I believe everyone's life is full of drama, this is the book with real stories, real struggles, real tools to navigate real life.